So let's just create the login method right now real quick. So for the login, let's just come here and create a method called login because we already have a controller that controls our user. So this will be public, this will be function, and right here we want to have a login. So this is function, this should be C. Yeah. So we can decide to use the request class or and create a new request class for our login, or we can just use the normal request. I only showed you how you can actually use a request class. So we're going to be using the normal request validation, and right here we can also do validation here. So we can say messages is equal to we can say user, let's say email dot email, and we can say we can just come over here and copy some of this. So let's just say copy some of this, and we're going to remove the unique. So this one, and for the password, yeah, so we already have for the password, so we can also copy the rules, which is this. So we can copy the rules right here, and right in our user method we can now say $rules. This is rules. This will also be an array. We can paste this right here. So right here we don't need all this again, and we don't need the unique. So we can just do this, and we can create a new class called a new variable called validator, and right here we can now call the validator class. So this will be validator, and right here we can use the make method. So this will be $request and request, and this will be all. So we want to validate on all requests. So hopefully this makes sense to you. This is the same thing we did right here. We're just repeating this in a controller, and this will be $rules, and this will be $messages. Now we want to say if $validator, if this fails, we want to return a response, and this will be a JSON response, and this will be a 422 error status code. And right here we can now say status, and this status, this will be status, and this will be false. And right here we can now output those errors. So we can say errors, go to validator errors. So hopefully this makes sense to you, and we can use the get messages object too. So hopefully this makes sense to you. This should be like this. Okay, now we validate this request within our controller. Now you can see this actually looks like a lot to do. We can actually create a request object for this. So it all depends on you. If you notice, we're still doing the same thing right here. We're still doing the same thing. So let's just go ahead and test that out. So this will be post, and right here we going to have a method. I don't think we're going to have a route. I don't think we've created that route. So let's just go ahead. This will be login, and this will be login. So hopefully this makes sense to you. So let's just try login now, and let's just try to send this, and let's see. We have the please enter an email, please enter a password. So let's just go ahead and enter an email, and this will be at and the password will be password. Now we're trying to log in right now, so let's just try this. You can see we're not getting anything. That's because we've passed the validation, but we didn't actually tell it to do anything. So to actually log in this user, we're going to use a condition statement. I'm going to say auth. Now we are attempting a login, so we're going to use the attempt, and you can see this has already given us like a template. So if email is equal to email, like we're attempting an authentication, so this will be $ request. So right here we can now say yeah, right here. So if let's just import this. Now if the login attempt is successful, we want to say $user equal to the authenticated user. So hopefully this makes sense to you, and this should be a method. Yeah, so hopefully this makes sense to you. Then we can now generate our token for this user. So we can now say $token equal to $user, and this will be create, because we want to create a token for this user. So this will be create token. Let's just get the spelling correct. And right here we want to use the user email as a template for the token, and this will be access token, or you can use a plain text token. So let's just use a plain text. So plain text token. So right here, if the login is success, we want to return a response, and this will be a JSON response. And right here we want to say message logged in, and this should be a string logged in. So hopefully this makes sense to you. I want to say return the user, and this will be $user, and we also want to return the token. So this will be token, and this will be $token. And this is all we need to do. And right here s, so if the authentication fail, we want to return like a error message. So right here we're going to return an error message, and right here we're going to say authentication failed, and this is all we need to do. So let's just go ahead and try this out, and let's see. You can see we have the authentication failed because we don't have a user that goes with this email. So let's just try this, and let's see if we have an account for this. So let's try this now, and let's see. Yeah, so we are logged in now as this user, and you can see the token right here. So anytime we make a request, we can now actually get this user from the token. So let's just demonstrate this. Let me copy this token, and right here we want to make a request to the user. Now what this route is, we're going to create this route in a bit. Now what this route is just going to be doing is going to be returning the authenticated user, and this will be a GET request. Now this route we're always going to be returning the authenticated user. So let's just go ahead and create that route, and right here we can say route. Mind you, you might need to actually um, you might need to actually group your route to actually make everything nice and readable. So this will be a get, and right here we're going to say user, and we're going to return a callback. Now in this callback we're going to have the request, and this will be request. So hopefully this makes sense to you, and right here we're going to return $request user. So we want to return the user that actually make this request. So hopefully this makes sense to you. So let's just try this. You can see we're not getting anything because we don't actually have the authentication right here. So to make this actually looks better, we can have like a group route, and this will be group. Now we can have a previous of user, or we might not. We can just have like a middleware right here. So this will be auth. This is actually going to be a string, auth sanctum. So hopefully we got the spelling correct. And right here we're going to move this into that protected route. Now this we explain what middleware is when we're doing the Laravel basics. So this middleware protects this route against unauthenticated user. That means before you can access this route, you have to be authenticated. And what will you be authenticated with? You will have to be authenticated with your token. So right here in the authorization, we want to have a barrier token. And within this barrier token, we're going to paste the token that we got from the request we made when we logged in this user. So this token will always authenticate this user whenever the request is being sent. Now let's try this again. You can see we're getting this user right now. So we're getting the authenticated user right now. So let's just go ahead and test all this from the scratch. So let's create a new user, and let's say register. So let's just try to register a new user, and let's see that. So we need to enter a name, which will be Laravel lesson, and, we can try an email, and this will be email. And right here for the password, we can have a password. So let's just go ahead and create this user right now. You can see we've created this user. So let's just try to log in with this user, and this is still a post request. So this will be login, and we don't need the name right here. So let's log in now. You can see we get a token for this. So let's just use the token to like put in our barrier token, and let's just go ahead and authenticate this user using this token. So let's just do user, and let's try this. This will be a get request now because we want to get this user. So let's just send this, and you can see we get that user. So whenever we get in this authenticated user, we also want to get what we can do is to actually put all of this in a controller. So we can actually put this in a controller. So let's just do that real quick. Let's just see. Let's use the user controller, and this will be class. And right here we want to use the user method. So hopefully all this makes sense to you. So let's just go ahead and create that user method. So right here we're going to have like a public function, and this will be user, and we're going to have the request, and we're going to have $ request. And right here we want to have the user to be equal to we can have it to be equal to the authenticated user, because before this route is actually accessed, this user will have been authenticated right here on this line right here. So we can have this to be equal to the authenticated user, or we can have this to be equal to the request user. So hopefully this makes sense to you. And we can now say post. That means post for this user is equal to $user. Post. We can just now say post. So hopefully this makes sense to you, and we can now return both of it. So let's just do, because we don't want to keep creating variable all the time, so let's just do something like this, and we can now return a response, and this will be as usual a JSON response. And right here we can now say user equal to $user, and now we can also do status to be like true. So hopefully this makes sense, and this will be a status code of 200, which means everything is okay. So let's just try this again. So you can see this user has no post at all. Now if we should try to log in with a user that actually has a post, so let's try to log in with this user, and let's get that token. So let's go over to our authorization, and let's use the barrier token. So let's just try to get this user right now. So this will be user. Let's try this. This is a get request. Yeah, so you can see the post of this user. You can see the post for this user, and this is actually how you can actually work with API. You can see how we've achieved a lot using this API. So the next thing we can now do is to actually send a put request and actually update this user using this token. So it's so let's just try that right now. So we can now use a put request, and whatever information we want to change, we can now change the let's say name. We can actually change the name of this user to, let's say, code it me academy. So we can now change this user's name to code it me academy. So let's just go ahead and do this, and let's see how it works. So I'm not going to do like I'm not going to do a validation right here. I'm not going to work with validation. We're just going to save this information directly. So let's just go ahead and do this. So we need the user ID actually. So we need the user ID in cases like this. So let's just go ahead and create that route. So this will be a put request, and right here we need the user ID. So this will be update. So this is all we need to do, and right here we need to use a put request. The this will be user. I want to actually send the name. So if we should send this, we shouldn't be getting anything. This put request is not supported. API user name. So I think we're not doing something right here. Route put user ID. Yeah, so we need to actually put the user ID right there. uh I think I've forgotten the user ID, so let's just use a get request and actually get the user ID. So the user ID is 2. So let's go back to our put request, and this will be 2 right here. So let's send this now. You see we're not getting anything. So let's just do something right here. Let's do $name is equal to $request name. So this is all we need to do, and we can just delete this actually. So let's do user equal to user find or fail, and this will be $user. So let's just try to return the user right now. So let's just return $user. So let's try this again. So we getting the user right now. So any user we put its ID here, we're going to get the user. You can see we're getting the user right now, and this is how we can actually get the user. So let's just go ahead and update this user. So let's say user name equal to $request name. So let's just go ahead and save this user. So let's just say user save. So let's just return a response, and this will be a JSON. And right here we can now say status, and the status to be true. And right here we can say user, and this will be true status. Yeah, this should be, yeah. So hopefully this makes sense to you. So let's just go ahead and close this, and this will be 200. So let's just go ahead and do this to this user. So you can see we've changed the username right here. So this is how you work with APIs. I was thinking I'll create API for the post too, but I don't think that is necessary anymore because we've actually covered a lot using this user. And if you want to actually create an API for to get all posts, it's actually easy. Let's just create this one API for the post, and this will actually have a callback, and this will be request $request. Let's have a column right here, and we can now return post. You can say all. So this will return all the posts. So you can now actually try this. We have 27. Let's see that. Okay, let's just put a semicolon here, and let's just try this again. This is a put method. It should be a get method. Yeah, so you can see all the posts right here. So you can see this is not different from what we have for the user right here. It's not different. So I was thinking of doing this API for the post too, but you can do that because we've actually created everything we want to do in this post. We've actually done it with the user. So let's just